Hey there, I'm going to show you how to make a cold brew concentrate at home. I'm Kevin from Full Circle Coffee, and I'm going to walk you through a slightly modified version of how we do it here in our shop. So, to get started, we need a few pieces of equipment. First thing, of course, we're going to need some coffee. I have about a cup and a half of coffee beans measured out here. If you have a scale, that's going to give you a more accurate result. So we use 150 grams of coffee. So that's really kind of where they overlap, that cup and a half or 150 grams. Then here I've got 3 cups of filtered water. That is really important to have really good high quality water that's going to give you the best cup of coffee possible. And of course, you're going to need a coffee grinder to grind your coffee beans. I have it set to about a medium coarse setting. That's going to let the cold brew really extract well, so it gets you a really nice, rich concentrate. And then, of course, you're going to need your very own French press. If you want to be really cool, you can get an R2D2 French press, or you can get some of the other kind of more standard ones. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and because of the amount of coffee, I'm going to have to grind this in 2 batches. Probably most home grinders, you would have to go ahead and brew it, grind it in 2 batches. So I'm going to put it all in the hopper though, because that's big enough for it. And I'm going to turn it on. All right. So I got about half the coffee ground, and I actually heard the grinder start struggling because there was nowhere for the coffee to move out of. You really want to try to avoid that happening. I'm going to add a little bit of water into the bottom of the French press before I go ahead and add this coffee in. All right, then I'm going to top it off with about half the water in here. So I'm making sure that everything is really nicely coated so that I'm not going to end up with big pockets of dry coffee that maybe won't get wet until a few hours into the process. So I'm going to finish grinding the rest of the coffee now. All right, and so I'm actually going to have to do this in 3 batches just because of how the grinder is struggling. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this coffee right on top of the slurry that's in here already. I'm going to add just a little bit. I'm going to give this a quick shake to kind of level out the bed of coffee. And then I'm going to re-wet everything just a little bit. I'm going to finish grinding. All right. Finally finished grinding it all. So I'm going to add that in there. Same idea. I'm going to shake it out just a little bit, and I'm going to pour the rest of the water right over the top. All right. So now I'm going to take the top. I'm going to just put it in there as lightly as possible. And there we go. So now we're going to go ahead and let this sit for anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. Going past 24 hours, you're going to really over-extract the coffee to the point where it's really not going to be very tasty. Here in the shop, we try to keep it right at 12 hours, and we always just leave notes for the next person to go ahead and make sure to strain it out. So at the end of the 12 hours, you're going to go ahead, you're going to push the plunger down, and then strain it into a vessel. We really like using a nice flip-top container like this one. Because then it's really easy to pour out of, so it's a lot easier to use. So I really quick want to show you some of the really delicious things you can make with cold brew. The possibilities are really kind of endless, but 2, just when you want a really nice cup of coffee, you can very easily do a hot cup of coffee, or you can do an iced cup of coffee. So with this concentrate, these are both going to make about 12 ounces of coffee. So we go ahead and we do about 2.5 ounces of coffee for making a 12-ounce beverage. We've just found through experimenting and taste testing that it gets us the best ratio and the most tasty coffee. So all you have to do, you just have to measure out that 2.5 ounces, pour into each one. So my hot coffee is all ready. And there's the iced coffee. So really nice, simple, versatile. Definitely check out the rest of the channel. We will absolutely have some really fun other ways to use coffee concentrate to make some really delicious beverages at home.